Hello. It has been a long time. This is the like super cliche that everybody says, but it's been a long time since I did a video. It's been a long time since I streamed. Currently playing with a Rubik's Cube. That's that noise. Anyway, but it has been a long time, and there have been a couple reasons for that, and I don't even remember what they all are right now. But I've fallen completely off with my Worldographer stuff. I think Worldographer has been updated a bunch of times. I haven't even got the latest version. And the long and the short of it is that I haven't actually DM'd a game of D&D for like 5 months. But today, I did. And it was awesome. I loved it. I think my players loved it. We had lots of laughs and fun and nail-biting moments. And I think my favorite part was when the giant toad fell into a pit trap and landed on top of our dwarven fighter. That was pretty awesome. But anyway, that being said, here, let's get rid of our background. Start seeing my notes. Yeah, so this is my main notes page for the entire session. It was a 5-hour session, and it looks like there's basically no notes there. There are more notes than that. If we go over here, I did a bunch of encounters. So it was a combat heavy session. So we got through, no, we didn't hit that one. We did this one. So we did 4 encounters. These are technically random encounters. I have random encounter tables. I just pre-generated them. And then we also did the boss fight, which is, you don't see much on here other than these scribbles, which I did with my stylus. So this is the 4-armed ogre. So this is 4 AO. This is the hit points that they were doing in damage. He had 77 hit points, and there you go. Box around it means he's dead. The note for that is this. That's it. That's all I had that written down for that. Everything else I just improv'd. Actually, Volo's Guide, page 152, was the reference to the ogre. I didn't even open it up because it's pretty much just, you know, he's got 5 attacks around and he's just a beast, right? So he, you know, lower class, reasonably high hit points. My characters are, or my players' characters are level 4, and there's only 3 of them. So it's a good fight. Honestly, though, like, it wasn't that tough. But at the same time, their resources are very taxed. They're running very thin on resources right now. So the whole point of what they've been doing, or what they're doing right now, is, I'm going to erase this stuff, but do it later. They are, so this is my design space, or my design document for the dungeon that they're in. I built this in Worldographer. I don't know if I did that on video or not, but that's where I did it. These scribbles indicate their path. So they were moving through the dungeon, getting lost, backtracking, getting lost, backtracking. They eventually picked up, and on this space, they picked up a goblin, and they forced him to guide them, excuse me, on threat of death. And he led them to this, which is the Mushroom Cavern, which is where they had their final fight. So in between there, they had 4 encounters. So the way I have it laid out is every hour they spend in the cave system, they're going to run into something. It doesn't have to be on the hour, but, you know, averaged out, it's going to be every hour. So anytime they get lost, they waste half an hour, and every time they move from square to square, it takes them half an hour, right? So it was like 1 encounter, 2 encounters, 3 encounters, half an hour there, half an hour, 4 encounters, and then into here. And so they're actually only like 30 minutes away from risking another encounter, which is going to put them back over here. And that's fine. So what the end result of that is, they're not hard encounters either. I'm gonna show you them. So encounter 1 was 8 giant centipedes. They're like 1-hit kills, right? They have 4 hit points. I don't think any of these people can do less than 4 hit points damage. So the notes for myself, I just have sort of motivation for the monster, right? So these are hunters. They want to survive. They'll track persistently. They're very, very good at tracking things. They don't have any treasure. Right? There's 8 of them. This is the monster reference. They're pretty quick. The big thing about them is they do a bunch of damage. And this is the description of the room, which actually I kind of messed up. I didn't really do a lot of description of the room. I didn't talk about the mold, the loose floor, the 1 inch of water. Actually, the centipedes probably should have been crawling on the walls and the ceiling. But that, you know, those things are flavor. They wouldn't have changed the fight at all, so it's really not a big deal. Other than the flavor might have helped my players enjoy it a little more. And it's the same here. I have tables for all this stuff, so it randomly generates. The shape of a room, the width of the room, the height of the room, the general slope, or if there's any special terrain thing about the room. And then if there's a trap in it, any decorations and stuff. This is the encounter with the monsters. Some of the monsters. So this was a tough fight. 3 giant toads against the 3 level 4 characters and the one, they have a level 3 druid NPC that's with them to sort of help them heal and stuff like that. This was a tough fight in that they lost a lot of resources. They lost a lot of hit points. It was a fun fight. This was the fight where the dwarf fell through the collapsing floor, and then the toad fell through the same collapsing floor and landed on. It's really funny. The dwarf was like, fine. He's an absolute beast, right? He's a fighter with an AC of 20 and tons of hit points, but it's just a funny situation. This is another fight where, did I not? Oh, I erased the hit points. This is their NPC who was taking damage in bear form. It was 8 goblins. This is where they picked up their goblin guide. So again, you know, these goblins are a warband. They're stealthy. They do ranged hit and run tactics, and they totally did all that stuff. And once they realized that they no longer had the advantage in numbers, once it was like even 4 for 4, I think it actually went down to 3 against 4. They started running away, and excuse me. And two of my characters wanted to slow them down. They wanted to do called shots against their legs, and in my mind, I thought there was a rule in the book that talked about called shots, but I flipped through the book for a minute and I couldn't find anything. And so, as per sort of the design intent and the spirit of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, I just made it up. And I was really happy with how I did it. And the rule I used was disadvantage on the attack, and you'll do minimum damage. So they're still doing damage, but the absolute minimum they can possibly do. But they get this effect. In this case, it was half speed. So they're basically like taking out their knees or whatever. So yeah, it was good. They were happy with it. They had no problem rolling with disadvantage. They didn't complain at all. Both attacks ended up hitting, and they were able to take 2 of the goblins down. And then they captured one, and you know, basically collared him and used him as a guide, forced him to guide them through because they kept getting lost without him. So yeah, so that was good. That was a good fight. You can see the shape of the room and stuff here. It's nice and wide, nice and high. It's a big room. Because the room, I said, was dressed with carvings, all sorts of crazy carvings. I said that it was possible to hide in the nooks and crannies of those carvings. That's where the goblins were hiding, and then our Elven Bard also hid in there, which was cool. And yeah, it was good. They didn't loot them, which is surprising to me. That's okay. Final random encounter was 1 single bugbear who was lost. This is something I've recently added in things. Figure out why this monster is out there. Just some ideas to sort of trigger story stuff. And I thought this actually could have developed into sort of more story than it did. But basically, they didn't really take any action with the bugbear, and so the bugbear just lobbed a javelin at them, and it missed. Bad. And so he ran away. And they were too slow to get him because he was too far up, so what's kind of fun is that the whole room they were in was only 2.5 feet wide. It was more of a hallway. And everyone's just trying to squeeze through this tight little space. And so there wasn't really a fight to have. And so our lost bugbear got away. So that means that he can report back to his supervisors or whatever, right? Well, supervisor seems like he can report back to his boss, his leader, and maybe we'll play that in later. At the same time, actually, this encounter, one of the goblins was left unconscious but wasn't dead. So when they get back to him, since it's been several hours, he'll have woken up and left. And so that's another thing. He's got these monsters that are escaping are reporting things back. So anyway, yeah. This is next. More centipedes with a flame burst trap, which should be cool. And centipedes are probably not going to trigger that. 20 pounds of pressure. Yeah, they're not. I don't think there's a 20-pound insect out there. So it'll only be if the players notice it or don't notice it. And yeah, that's next session though. That's not this session. So it was good. So I generated a bunch of random encounters. They don't take long to generate because I have a spreadsheet and a bunch of tables, and I just hit refresh and it builds a whole bunch of them. I guess I could show you that. I want to erase this before I forget. Erase. Let's go. Bleep. That's not what I do. There we go. I'll do a write-up. I'll do it. I'm not gonna do it on screen or anything, but I'd like to go through and just remember everything that happened. And then, so this is the write-up for the previous session that we had. Excuse me, and you can see here, June 26th. A long time since we played. I started planning this one in September, and today is right here. It says it's the 18th of November. So that's where it's at. Sometimes your game group can play every week. Sometimes you miss a whole bunch of time just because life happens, right? But I'm glad we got to play again, and I'm hoping we get to play again before too long. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I think the reason I wanted to point this out was that I really don't have a lot of prep here. This is just stuff, referencing stuff they've done, and showing that they're having an impact on the world. This was a plot hook that they actually involves one of their old characters who isn't in the game anymore. The player's still there, but he's just playing a different character now. But there's a tie-in, and this is sort of wrapping up. The goal was to get an item for this girl, and she now has the item in her backpack. So after they escort her back out of the cave, they'll be done. This I just threw in for a bit of flavor, and they are, I don't know if they're actually gonna eat. I think they are gonna try and harvest some monster parts, which is kind of gross, but the amount of money that they're going to get from it is negligible, and I don't know. It's mostly just for flavor. I'm happy to give them more money if that's what they do. But this is the main thing. They sort of their next, if they want to continue to quest in the town they're in. This is the next quest. Beryl and Isty is the cave system they were just, and they got a little bit of information from the goblin that they captured, but he doesn't know a whole lot. So he told them everything he could to try and stay alive. But yeah, that's it. This boss fight, I don't know what a Giralon or Giralon or whatever the phrase is for that, but anyway, it's basically just a big, like, four-armed ape of some kind, or gorilla, I suppose. I saw that on the list of stuff that would be sort of reasonable for the CR, and I'm like, yeah, I can make that into an ogre. That's easy, done. And then I thought, make it more interesting. We'll give him some goblin handlers. It was kind of inspired by there's a Jet Li movie called Unleashed, and I think in the UK it was called Danny the Dog. Basically, he plays he plays the role of a martial arts fighter who's basically a slave, a human slave to a mafia guy, or a gangster. And when he has this leash on his neck, he's very docile. But as soon as they take the leash off his neck, he just goes wild and destroys everything. And I wanted this, so that's sort of that idea for the four-armed ogre as well. So, of course, the cleric in the group is a Tempest cleric, and he dropped what's it called? The loud booming smash spell. It's like Fireball, but slightly weaker, and it just does sonic damage. Shatter. It's called Shatter. And so he cast Shatter on the ogre and all the goblins that were around him, and he used his ability that maximizes the damage. I forget what the ability is called, but either way, he killed all the goblins and did a whole bunch of damage to the ogre all in one shot. And I mean, he actually burned advantage on his initiative check, or his dexterity check for initiative, to make sure he got to go first, to make sure he could do that. And I was more than happy to give that to him. That was awesome. It was a good tactic. So, yeah. And then another plot line that's going. I kind of hope my players don't watch this video, because they totally are gonna have all their rooms robbed. So they have an item that one of the people in town wants, and so he's not beyond unscrupulous tactics to get it from them, and we'll see how that goes, because they're off in a cave right now, and by the time they get out of the cave, it's going to be late. I don't know where they're going to sleep, and it's going to be crazy, and I'm yawning. So, anyway, awesome. I'm glad to be back in the game. I'm going to do a write-up of everything that happened today from my perspective anyway. I usually like to read that out to the players so they remember beginning of the next session, and then we'll go from there. The one thing I will say, I'm going to actually make it right. It's going to be called Session 16. Planning. Resting is dangerous. I know they want to take a rest, but I have every intention of denying them that rest. In order for them to get out from where they are right now, with the goblin to guide them, they're looking at 1, 2, like 3 encounters. There's centipedes, the Kuatoa, which kind of a weird one to have there, but that's okay. Giant fire beetles, which they don't even have to fight; they can walk right past them. And if I skipped the Kuatoa, it would go back into goblins, which actually makes more sense. So I may skip the Kuatoa. But yeah, that's, they very feasibly get out safely from where they are now. But if they decide to push deeper in, I really think that they're going to die. And I don't think it's the responsibility of the DM to keep the players alive. I think it's the responsibility of the DM to build an engaging world, to telegraph danger in the sense that you forewarn them, but if they insist on doing something, then there are consequences for actions. And if they ignore the signs of danger and just decide to charge in, then yeah, people can die. And they're really low on reason. They drank a lot of potions. They used all their spells, or most of their spells, up. They're only level 4. They don't have that many spells. So, yeah, in fact, even their NPC only has 1 second level spell left. I think the cleric is out of spells. The bard may actually have a bunch of spells yet. Fighter, he used his action surge, but not his second one. So they're running low. I feel like it would be smart of them to exit, but we'll see. Oh, there's something coming up. If they get to a 10th encounter, this was part of the random roll, which is cool. So maybe I'll throw that in early. 2 Grix though. I feel like that's going to be a tough fight for them. It is a tough fight for them. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, it's only a game, right? If they can't make it out because they decide to do something stupid, then hopefully they go out in a blaze of glory and they have fun anyway. Okay, well, pretty much all I have to say about that. So, if you took time to watch this video and you found it interesting, well, thanks for hanging out. And get rid of that. Yeah, like I hope it was useful. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. But you know, I get it. Not a lot of people like commenting on videos, so whatever. Have a good one, and let's all make the game a better place.